It was a whirlwind week for the Trump transition team as the days tick closer to the January 20th inauguration. For the latest on the president-elect, we are joined by Philip Bump, a political columnist for The Washington Post. Philip, great to see you. Happy holidays. Thanks for joining us. Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump. Is this tough talk? Is this the beginning of a nuclear arms race? What's happening here?
I think it seems pretty likely that Donald Trump is open to the idea of this being a new nuclear arms race. We saw what he said on MSNBC yesterday. But I'm not sure that this necessarily signals that he and Putin are at odds at all. I mean, I think that both sort of, Donald Trump's whole campaign is predicated on this idea of the Reagan era and, make America great again in that sense. And Putin would love to have a new Cold War, to be the contrary, polar opposite power in the world to the United States. So I think it serves them both well in terms of how it is they see themselves on the world stage.
Well, it's interesting, Phil. I can't recall a Russian leader sending a letter to an incoming American president. But, what do you think Putin is trying to get out of this?
I think Putin wants to regain Russia's position in the world, right? There are huge sanctions that were imposed against Russia after the Russia invaded Crimea. He wants to see those lifted, but he really wants to be, under the Obama administration really treated China as the main competitor on the world stage. Putin wants that to be Russia again, and I think that he is doing what he can to make that the case.
There has been a lot of foreign policy development that has been tweeted in 140 characters or less this week, Philip. When we talk about the UN resolution and U.S.-Israel relations, they have been bad for a long time. They are probably at a low point at this moment. There is a stark contrast between the position that President Obama has taken and the announced position of President-elect Trump. What do you read in that?
It's a fascinating question, and we'll have to see how it evolves. Obviously, once Trump becomes president, things change in a lot of different ways, right? I think that the report that you saw earlier was correct, that President Obama has long been at loggerheads with Prime Minister Netanyahu. People remember over the Iran deal, for example, that Netanyahu came to the United States and gave a speech against the will of the president to try and get Congress to act out against the Iran deal. So there's always been that tension. I think that Trump has given every indication he will be friendlier to Netanyahu's administration. But that's Donald Trump, who is still a private citizen, technically. Once he becomes president, it'll be interesting to see if that changes.
It's interesting because the Obama administration resisted pressure from Israel and public comments by President-elect Trump. Is this a parting shot by Obama at Netanyahu, do you think?
I think that's one way to read it, yes. I think that probably it is more accurate to say that this is a position that Obama has had his team focused on for some time, and this was an opportunity to reinforce that position.
Philip, the recent CBS News poll has President Obama's approval rating at 56%. That is the highest it's been since December of 2012. Right. Do you think that that's something at all that President-elect Trump might keep in mind? He has not directly criticized the president in recent weeks.
I legitimately don't think Donald Trump cares at all about President Obama's approval rating. I think President Obama's approval rating is high in part because he's not Trump or Clinton. But quite frankly, I think that it didn't do Clinton much good that President Obama's approval rating was so high. And I think Trump has shown every indication he's going to do what he wants to do once he gets in the White House.
Well, can you recall a time where you've had an incoming president who's been as willing to contradict and the sitting president as this one is?
No, not at all. It is the traditional policy is for the president-elect to be quiet essentially until January 20th, to not confuse the world about who America's leader is, because the goal is that America hasn't changed. We're moving forward just with a new leader. Donald Trump's entire position is America's going to change dramatically, and I think that's why we're seeing what he's doing now.
A lot of game changers happening this week.
This year, huh?
All right, Philip Bump, extra points for a Christmas Eve appearance. Thank you very much.